So I'm looking right now at what I sent myself that was of concern because of dates that had been pending. And one of the things that was specifically concerning to me, is that this is referencing information from August. Somebody's replaced the information. Somebody has swapped out the information that is there. That's what it tells me. They have altered the record to reflect different information. The reason I forwarded these to myself at that time is because it was the end of August. And if I recall correctly, there was a discussion about Alexei Navalny being in Germany for alleged medical treatment. And it was determined, it was said, that he was not going to be done with medical treatment for a specific period of time. And that period of time, if I recall correctly, would have been 20 days after the election in the United States. If not 20 days after the election in the United States, then a specific time frame after the election in the United States. And insofar as that was the understanding, my concern was that somebody had pegged it to Treasury issues and was going to use Navalny and the situation with Navalny in some manner to address factors related to the election. Now, it said something that he wasn't supposed to be available or eligible because of the medical condition to personally either return or be considered out of convalescence until after the election in the United States. But by virtue of the sort of timing, my concern, especially because the notice I had, if I am not incorrect, the notice came from Reuters. The specific article discussing how the medical officials in Germany had said he would not be out of treatment or observation until after the election came from Reuters. That was the information I got. And that is why I went and I looked at what was going on with the Treasury notes, because my theory was that there would be a Treasury note, perhaps a short term, that would be turning over in that time frame. And that's what that notice was. And that's exactly what I found. And that's why I did what I did. And that's why I actually have it in my evidence. I believe now, I'll check later. But I think that the information in here is inaccurate. I think what they did is they hacked my email to reflect different information. Because one of the things it does is it has a reference point for what would be 15 days after the alleged declaration of a state of emergency in Texas. And not only that, but one of these is pegged now to be what would be the beginning of the fiscal year, if I'm not mistaken, for the year they're trying to say all of these gas and oil loans come due. I don't fucking think so. No, no, no. Even if it's accurate, then your spying led to that. So are you expecting, it's now 6 months before August, which would have actually been the time frame. It's the time frame I was looking up in my email. Are you saying that 6 months from now, you're intending to do what with these terrorist attacks you just hooked up that are being advertised in the media? Because that's how it seems. They're being advertised. So if you get in now, what are you expecting to get? What are you expecting to get from an Israeli coastal oil spill and a I'm sorry, an oil spill in the Bay of San Francisco Bay? Because if it's in San Francisco Bay, I mean, it's not just San Francisco. We're talking about some good shit, including some good old school California Republican shit from the other side of the bridge, aren't we? Including those areas in Oakland that had a stay on any construction for 5 years as of 2000, what, 14? Actually, it was either 5 or 10 years. Was it just now, right when they're beginning new construction? Are you intending to get a kickback on that for your? I've been hearing them. We went with Oakland. You didn't go with fucking Oakland. You already had your little Oakland. deploy to Plano just in time for all of these acts of terrorism that have been happening in Plano to come due. You know, the black ops on the hot Latinas. I saw that. So, what are you going to do now? Because it's absolutely disgustingly unsustainable and it's not even accurate. I'll check now, but you've already gone through a process where you've backdated the information. You've changed the actual information. You've refused to acknowledge people that would have otherwise legitimately been able to track, forestall, and prevent against proliferation of financial crime up to and including the point of strategically coordinated terrorist attacks. And now you're in a situation where you're busting out all over. It's not appropriate at this point to continue to throw money at, especially in the way they're trying to justify acquiring it. The same people that have been so ridiculously irresponsible for so long. This is completely unacceptable. Now, I checked with what I had at the time in regards to that. In regards to the situation, there was a indication that what would have been a benchmark connected to releases on Navalny did come due around the time that the information on the election hedging would have come due. But then I've got this right here, and it has to be acknowledged what happened. The state of Texas engaged in some of the most disgraceful activity as part of this last election. There may have been other people that co-conspired, but there was a period of time, around the time you're trying to date this. That's the problem. Around the time you're trying to have the indicators, the date and time indicators on these emails, there were all of these alleged candidates that were supposed to be identified as Republican, including and especially Republican women that were saying very stern things, very, very forceful things, including about child sex predators. And they did it for a period of time. It was around some debate, campaign debate activity, as well as some things that were going on here in Dallas. But nobody was actually talking about what was going on in the financing of their campaigns specifically. Their campaigns were being financed with child pornography. And they're giving some sort of public stump speech about child sex predators and other aspects of their alleged campaign. It was absolutely, completely insincere. And meanwhile, the Supreme Court of Texas had just gone through a process in June and July where it took off all of the cases. The entire caseload was offline for over a week. And when they put it back up, the cases that they had accepted in the meantime were completely, it was almost painful. There were an inordinate number of cases of appeals regarding child sex predators, including 2 cases involving somebody who was alleged to be a priest. And I'd already contacted everybody that needed to be contacted in October of the year before about how an anniversary in a case that Ted Cruz argued before the Supreme Court was coming up. And there was massive, violent child pornography all over the place, including in connection with the buses coming by and down the street to pick up kids in the morning. Massive, massive, massive child pornography. And I found what I understood to be the actual means by which it was accomplished. That somebody put a filing of tons and tons of testimonials that were supposed to be explicated, allegations of child sex predation that was committed by people affiliated with the Co-Diocese of Houston-Galveston the same day that Ted Cruz was arguing before the Supreme Court, and that somebody had allowed that to happen. And in the meantime, set up all this financing that was being used to sex terrorize political opponents. And now all of a sudden, a year later, you've got all these alleged Republican women candidates that are talking how sternly they need to confront child sex predation while their campaigns are literally being financed with child pornography, including child pornography that had been set up by the Supreme Court of Texas based on the cases it allowed to be posted on the website. Well, here's the situation. Somebody was doing huge, horrible dumps of violent child pornography, at least since August of 2019. I was furious. I was yelling and screaming. And I was in physical fucking pain. And when the spring came along, no, don't say why. Because there's supposed to be women that allow for you to dump violent child pornography and then consummate it as part of your economy? No. Because then you get reports about how actual children are molesting each other. And then you don't even give them actual medical care. You make some excuse about how there's not enough mental health facilities and there's not enough healthcare facilities to take care of children. And it's a real problem. No, the fucking problem is that you thought it was okay to develop a economy based on the commercialization of child sexual exploitation. And I don't give a shit how old she is when she decides that she's going to exploit a child with you. And I don't give a shit how old he is when he decides he's going to go ahead and exploit a fucking child with somebody. You have no right to do that. You have no right to use the actual identities and biometrics and, by the way, hormones of actual fucking children so that you can create some disgusting and, unfortunately, unviable economy based on child sexual exploitation. Now, if you thought you were going to up the ante and that you were going to take it to the next level because the Democrats have been doing it for years, that's no excuse. Because what you did in the meantime is you fucking teched yourself up and you souped yourself up and you cyber enhanced yourself to look gorgeous in your sleeveless fucking dress so that you can go take on all of the Democrats while you aided and abetted the torture of women like me and children and other women. You aided and abetted the torture of people that might otherwise have been your constituents, but can't possibly be your constituents because what it means is we have to accept our self-annihilation when you're the one that should step down. You should step down and out if you cannot actually be honest about what's going on. Giving some stump speech about how those terrible child sex predators need to be prosecuted while you accept child pornography in the background and allow yourself to get all souped up about it is not acceptable. And even if the Democrats did it for 10 years and you decided you were just going to sit on it long enough to flip the scheme to yourself, and that's exactly what this fucking lawsuit is. That's exactly what this fucking lawsuit is right here. First of all, Paxton has no authority. Paxton has no authority. He should never have been acknowledged as an attorney general, and the Supreme Court of Texas should never have accepted a case from him under the auspices of being attorney general. But they did. And in this case, where he's talking about trying to get some sort of situation going concerning the Harris County clerk regarding mail-in ballots, the Harris County Republican Party, along with actual representatives of Congress from Harris County and other Republicans from Texas, were filing suit before the Supreme Court that was also pending at the same time, where they blacked out the location information on libertarian candidates that they've been using for black ops ever since. Did you think you were going to fucking cultivate some libertarian stock issues? And then once marijuana got legalized, you could run your accounts on them and then get some political capital trying to do what? See, this is the problem. Even if you make a united front against the fucking Democrats and how horrible what they did is, what you did was just as fucking awful. And it was even fucking worse because in the meantime, you've allowed the state of Texas to co-conspire to completely dispossess your own constituents and people of a means by which to protect ourselves, either literally, physically, or in some sort of political process. It's become so saturated, and it's become so overwhelmed with corruption that you can't even keep track of the stock issue yourself. And anybody that could have done anything legitimate with it, well, I'm sorry, I am not gonna condone you using child sexual exploitation as financing for your fucking stock issue. And here's the problem. You don't get to dump it in the fucking ocean again. You don't get to hook up a bunch of fucking tankers and go dump them out at the sea in the South fucking Pacific and let somebody else clean it up. This is unacceptable. If you thought you were going to be a part of some ultra-national government organization where you and a bunch of other boys on another level were going to get a couple ladies that played the fucking part, the party with you while you did this to people all over the damn place, your time's done, assholes. You need to be the ones going to that goddamn Siberian fucking internment camp. I swear to God, anybody in the last year that has availed themselves of shares connected to private or corporate stock issues should be arrested and sent to Siberia. And after 6 months of you being cut off from everybody you had previously been able to claim as your personal fucking asset or an asset for your company, if after 6 fucking months your organs and your bones are appropriately fucking harvested for a stock issue, well then maybe you can pay your own fucking bail.